So most people are pushing it out of their minds as much as they can, but when it confronts them, it's terrifying to them. And I think a lot of people are more terrified right now because death is more real to them because of this COVID virus.
Yes. I would imagine that in your research, you came across a lot of interesting information just from people's stories and the way people have faced death and the fears that have come out of that. So when it comes to fearing death, what did you discover? How much do people actually fear their deaths? And I guess we could answer this question both among Christians and just the world at large.
The answer to that is people are terrified by death. In fact, three psychology professors at different universities have gotten together and have written on this extensively. And they've done over 500 studies have been conducted on how people fear death. And the answer is when people are actually confronted by their death, it just horrifies them and terrifies them. When you talk to people, though, like I'd be telling people I was writing a book about death, the fear of death, people would say to me something like, well, I don't, almost blurt it out immediately. I don't fear death. And just boom, there it is. I don't fear death. And as I put in the book, I say, and they're not being entirely dishonest because they don't think about their deaths. In fact, they don't think about their deaths at all. They don't, not at all. It's till they find a lump somewhere, or they have a chest pain, or a positive comes back on a blood test. Then death stands in front of them and won't leave the room. I mean, it's there. In study after study, when they've introduced people to their fear of death, it changes their behavior radically. But most people are denying that they're going to die and then distracting themselves. And so you've got, that's why, by the way, people go, well, why do we pay sports and singing and movie stars so much money? Because they're the most valuable people in the world. And what I mean by that is they keep us from thinking about the fact that we're going to die.
Wow,
and so they're doing the most important thing in the world for us. It gives us entertaining. It amuses us, makes us stop thinking about our ultimate destination. Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the Veep and Seinfeld star, she got a call the day after she won an Emmy for Best Actress and Director of Veep. She got a call saying that she had breast cancer. And she said she said howling laughter turned into hysterical crying. And as you read what she says, we don't think about death ever. And then she says, hardly ever. But it's really a fact, and it's something to deal with. And so most people are pushing it out of their minds as much as they can. But when it confronts them, it's terrifying to them. And I think a lot of people are more terrified right now because death is more real to them because of this COVID virus.
Yes, that's a good point, because everybody's sort of having to face the reality that, any one of us could get this. And it seems random. At least, I don't know when this episode's going to air, but at least where we're at right now, at first they were saying, well, it doesn't affect younger people, but yet I personally know a couple of younger people who nearly died from it. And so it's sort of this unknown kind of thing. And that's an interesting point about how we're all distracting ourselves from it. It's like the whole phenomenon of the Netflix binge, it sort of pushes away those thoughts of death and what's really coming. In fact, you and I, when we were together for the Biola on the Road conference, I remember you said to me when you were sort of summing up your book, you said, I can know nothing about you, but the one thing I know about you is that you're going to die. And that's really true, isn't it? We know that about every single person. And
in fact, I was just going to say, absolutely. In fact, the only thing you know for sure about your future is that you're going to die. And what I mean is you say, oh, no, I'm going to have lunch. I'm going to have lunch after this. Not necessarily. I mean, most likely, right? Or whatever. Most likely. Actually, you're in a different time zone than I am. But the truth of the matter is, you don't know that for certain.
Yeah.
You don't know if a plane's going to fall out of the sky on top of your house. Has happened not long ago here in Southern California. Yeah. You don't know that for sure, but you do know you're going to die. And I sit there and I tell people, I think, you know what? We Christians should be comfortable with the only thing we know about our lives for sure, and that is the way we're going to die. But non-Christians, by the way, deal with death in three different major ways: literal immortality projects, and then symbolic immortality projects, and then they also deal with it atheists deal with it in what I call mortality mitigating projects, but they're trying to do something to transcend their deaths because it scares the crud out of them, and they think if they can live on in some way, that's going to be their answer.
Yeah.